Well, you know, it's oh, it's good.
Well,
But then you gotta
put it out for an hour and then. I have. Go to my wife's judge friend who's going to jail. Especially that stuff where. Friends, if they need to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, ship over.
That happened in it.
Yeah. Taken care of, yeah.
Awesome. I'll do that.
Yes. And they for.
Is that I feel like. That's, yeah, you're not there.
They will pay for it. So she's hoping by the end of the year, she's proposed a trip to Pretoria, Japan. And she's hoping to take care of it. She's even more.
Nice.
Sarah. And if by that time she's got this Japanese. So she likes it. She wants
Yeah.
Like.
She's really fun.
Monday holiday.
Have a good time.
Yeah.
If I would have shown up on Wednesday, I really had it in my head.
Your head, it's like. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I come out on a 4-day weekend and all of them
Tuesday after
Yeah.
Friday.
Ready? Yeah. I need you to call the roll. All right. We have next week. Kristen. I'm here. Karen. Here. Josh. Paul.
Yeah.
Kate. Yes. And Jake.
Yes.
I need the approval of two different board meeting minutes from January, the organizational meeting minutes and the regular board minutes.
So moved.
Can we get a sec? It wasn't. Yeah. You second? Oh, sure. Yes. Okay. All right. Next, communications.
Okay, we have a letter from Ida Hubbard thanking the Starting Library for their donation. They take donations.
Need a vote on.
Yeah, we need an all in favor or roll call.
Oh, it is.
Which point? Do we do the roll? Let's do the roll. Okay, what the heck?
We're doing approval. So Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Now communications.
Yes, we have a thank you letter from Ida's Cover thanking the Chardon Library for being a spot to collect food for their, nice.
We need to approve the agenda.
And we have amendments to the agenda.
Yes.
So we are adding 15B, which is under new business, 15B, approval to close the library branch, the library on July 3rd, which is a Monday. And 15C, also under new business, is approval to move the March board meeting to March 28th, 4 PM at the Ad Center. And then 16, we're looking for approval to recommend the reappointment of Jake to the board, and recommend that to the judges.
Make a motion, we approve board meeting.
Okay, Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Now we need, how do you do the election? We want to swear in our board secretary, right?
They have to.
We have an order.
Yeah, they have to approve the election.
All right. So how do I start that?
Requesting approval to swear in Karen as the secretary.
Yes, we need to request approval to swear in Karen as board secretary. Anybody want to nominate her?
I nominate Karen.
No, second the nomination.
See, I knew these.
Do we need the roll?
I think you made it, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was hard.
Okay,
Do it.
Kristen?
Yeah.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes,
Jake?
Yes.
thank you for starting up.
Now, Debbie can do that.
Now,
Not Debbie.
Debbie can do that.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Geauga County Public Library in Geauga County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted during your term in office?
Next, the Chardon conceptual plan presentation, guys.
Yeah. Box with design.
Thanks, we're excited to be here. Appreciate the invitation and also thank you to all who helped, whose work helped us get to this point. My name is Rick Ortmeyer. I'm a partner and library planner with Boswick Design Partnership. We're an architecture firm based in Cleveland. I want to acknowledge my colleague Emily Carr, an associate with the firm. Also, another associate has joined us in the audience, Sarah Kramer, who's our Director of Business Development. Also, until recently lived around the corner. She's a power Chardon branch user, so she is here to make sure we don't miss any details in her children's library. I thought, Kristen, you might have your kids come back too. They can say
Okay, they have opinions.
yeah. So we're going to start with a little background context. We're going to talk about how we developed the program, the recipe that makes up the square footage that we're designing towards. We're going to go through the conceptual plan, and then we will talk about how much we believe it will cost to do what's being proposed. So a little background data. We do understand that if this were easy, it would probably have been done a long time ago. We know that there are, it's a tight site, and there's lots of dialogue around the opportunities there. What you're seeing is a few examples from a study that had been done in 2017. The one on the left was just a map of the sort of populations by geographic area, and also a historical idea of what might happen on the site. So we had background to start from, but we also wanted to revalidate that the square footages that we were designing to mattered. This 2017 plan suggested that the Chardon branch geography is about 17,000. But that, we know that people don't use libraries based on the geographic kind of borders. So we mapped it out more on sort of what the reality is of where the Chardon branch sits within the larger context of other libraries. So in the center is the branch location with a 2 and a 4 and a 6 mile radius. And one of the unique things about this branch is that it is, relatively speaking, farther away than the other branches in your system than they are to each other. So it does capture a larger population base naturally, plus the fact that Chardon is a center for business in the county, and I think you just get a lot more visitors that way. So that actually talks about more of a 30,000 square foot, a 30,000 person population, design population as relevant to this branch. We also recognize that this planning is done in the context of your strategic goals, some of which are very specific to library space. I'm sorry, I'm Katie, I'm standing here. In the upper right in community development, there is one about providing spaces that are welcoming to the community. But honestly, a plan like this really touches on all your strategic goals. There was a lot of staff engagement, and I think, everything we just recognize, the priorities that we talk about within this branch want to be consistent with your strategic goals. I want to talk a little bit about the program. So the program for a library is, I equate it to a recipe. It's all the parts and pieces that make up the sum total of what the library wants to be. So what you see in the spreadsheet are all the different areas that make up the Chardon Branch Library. The color-coded totals are those that were proposed. The next column adjacent to that is called existing square footage. That is our calculation of what you have today, and then the difference. So I'll highlight a few things that change somewhat significantly. Consistent with one of your strategic goals to create more spaces to collaborate. The meeting and gathering spaces, which is currently about 1,500 square feet in your current branch, that went up by 80%. And that is more sort of small group study spaces, medium group study spaces, what has been dubbed the messy program area, but kind of a multi-purpose space that exists at some of your other branches, and a more functional space for your Bostwick room, which is being planned, you'll see in the diagrams, more like this room. Whereas the Bostwick room, which has served the community really well and is, personal to us, given that the namesake is part of the family of Robert Bostwick, our managing partner. But it's not very functional in terms of location, and people have to get down to the lower level to get there. And its orientation and AV setup isn't really up to the standards that you have elsewhere. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click so fast. Another one that went up quite a bit is technology and creation spaces. That went up by about 80%. That's really just to right size the space made available for people to comfortably use computers. Children's services went up by about 150%. And I think that's commensurate with, I know, Kristen, as a mother who takes your kids to Chardon, and I know Sarah told us this as her personal experience, it feels crowded. You want kids to be kids. It's right inside the front door. There's some seating across the way. Some parents, I think you included, felt like you're kind of bothering the rest of the library just by having the kids in there. So it was important to make sure the children's area was right-sized. The teen services got slightly smaller, mostly because the teen area is somewhat loosely defined in the existing branch. It's that sort of window that faces the parking lot. And, the area that teen sort of encompasses is a larger space than it needs to be, just on how the space is used today. In the future, it's proposed to be more enclosed. Adult service collections went up. They had just about doubled. And that's really to right size the space for collections. If you go in the building now, there's a lot of tall shelves, especially in the lower level. And the trend in your other branches will be to make those lower shelves with a little more space for seating, and a little less space for sort of the tall shelves. The last one I'll highlight is the genealogy and local history. So this is a real destination already, in spite of the fact that it is somewhat squeezed into the space that it occupies today. So we talked a lot about the kinds of spaces that will make this a genuine destination with room for people to spread out, the ability to do programming, and the ability to properly house and display collections that are in the building already, but are kind of squeezed onto the shelves without a lot of opportunity for interpretation. So that went up by about actually 200% or more. So that's a good change. Now, square footage wise, it went up about 1,000 square feet, but that just shows how small it is today. So thanks for indulging us on the square footages, but we want to be a little bit clear about how those spaces went up. We will also be giving you a printed report that has all of the detail behind this summary. So for those who are interested, we'll share a printed copy of the detailed report at the end of the presentation. So one of the ways that we also make sure we plan for sort of intuitive understanding by all those who use and help us plan the library, we take that list of program elements and get it out of a spreadsheet and make it visual, because most people sort of think about this visually. So what you see here is just the diagram of how we created the puzzle piece exercises that we call it to actually shape the plan collaboratively. And what you're seeing here is actually an image of a workshop, which included branch staff and library staff. We didn't just come prepared with here's what you should do. We worked with the library to shape all of the places that we believed, given the existing building and the potential to expand, how this library might lay out on this particular site, which will lead us to the actual plans, which Emily will walk us through. But I just wanted to reinforce that this was not done just back in our office and we showed you what you should do. This was a participatory workshop that staff and library leadership led us through. And board members, sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's right.
So what these diagrams are, basically we diagrammed over those previous images that you just looked at. And this really describes the essence of the concept that I'm going to be walking through. So in purple is a new entry, and this would essentially connect the existing building to the expansion itself. The expansion is in orange, and that would house spaces like youth services, the new community meeting room, and then the existing building highlighted in blue, that would primarily house all of adult services and collections. On the lower level on the right-hand image, again, this existing building would house some staff support spaces, study rooms, meeting rooms, as well as genealogy and local history. And then if we take a step back, we really look at the existing library site itself. The existing property that the library owns is currently highlighted in red. You can see that there's a one-way entrance only drive to the south of the library, and then there's a exit one-way only just to the north of the library. Outlined in blue are two parcels that are currently owned by Chardon Local Schools. And then here's that same view with the proposed concept overlaid on top. And given the physical constraints to the north and south of the property, in order to accommodate a building and a larger site expansion, we would be expanding in place and then expanding also up to the north and to the east. So here, taking a closer look at the proposed site plan, I'm just going to run through some specifics of it. The library as proposed will include a library expansion shown in yellow. And essentially we'll also be proposing demolishing the existing entrance. So putting on a new entrance as part of this. And then basically a complete renovation and reconfiguration of the existing library itself. Parking for the site will expand in place. It'll be able to accommodate potentially up to 90 spaces. Some other elements of the site will be maintaining the existing ingress from the Chardon Square side, but then we'll also be proposing a new ingress and egress out to Goodrich Court. Some other elements, we are also incorporating a drop-off as well as a designated delivery aisle for deliveries and unloading and loading. And then in a moment, I'll walk through the specifics of the floor plan itself. But here you can start to see how the floor plan begins to lay out on the site. And what's also referenced on here is the line of the existing library versus the expansion to the north. Here's the lower level. Again, we're utilizing the existing footprint, but with some modifications to the northeast corner in order to improve accessibility down to the lower level. And then here I'll walk through some specifics of the plan itself. So looking at the first floor addition, again, we'd be connecting to the existing north wall of the library, and we'd be creating a new passage at the very center. So we'll have two new entrances, one off the west-hand side of Chardon Square, as well as the parking to the east. And the new west entrance will improve, basically a presence on Chardon Square as well as just general, user, use. And then the entrance on the parking lot side, this would basically also be an improvement. You kind of enter in, you can go up to the main level. And then you could also take the elevator, new elevator, or stairs down to the lower level. And then going in through some of the spaces with inside. So the bright blue is a new community meeting room. And then also within the expansion itself would be children's in light blue. And both of those would have views out to Chardon Square as well as the school across the way. In kind of the darker, brighter pink, whichever one you want to say, is circulation services. Again, this is an improvement of the space itself, and it also has direct access to the exterior. We're incorporating a ramp off of the delivery separate drive aisle, so that staff can deliver directly into staff spaces instead of have to use the public elevator and kind of cross interfere that way. Shown in light pink would be a new enclosed teen center. And then in the aqua color is the flexible program space. Again, we put that kind of off on the Chardon Square side. Yeah, can you? And then the light green is all primarily adult collections and services. That's teen.
Flexible program.
Yep.
Staff space.
And then light green is all adult services collections. In that bright green is a enclosed quiet room. And then in the very southwest corner in pink is a enclosed book drop off so that people can drive up, drop their book off, and it's in an enclosed space for staff to get.
Staff love going outside in February, but we're hoping we can make this one.
And then looking at the lower level on the right-hand side of the screen. So the existing building will now be directly accessible from a new entrance. The elevator is shown there as well as stairs, so that that's all in one place and someone entering can go directly down from there. Some other improvements that we've incorporated, study rooms are shown in blue as well as a medium-sized conference room. In purple, we have AV collections and public access computers. And then along the north-hand side, in gray and pink, we have building support spaces, staff support spaces. And then finally in yellow, an enclosed and expanded genealogy and local history space to really make this be a true destination within the library itself.
Yeah, so one of the things that we know is a significant challenge that you have today is the entrance experience. So people walk in at a mid-level, and then if they want to go to genealogy or if they want to go to adult services, they have to go upstairs, find their way to the stair or the elevator, and then go downstairs. So you're really covering a lot of geography to get to where you want to go. We wish we could have reshaped the whole site in this part of the city that you could actually get in directly at the lower level, but the excavation that will be required would really be too expensive and too disruptive to the rest of the area. So you still have to enter on that middle level, but as Emily said, you can either go straight to the upper level or straight to the lower level without having to go to the level you're not choosing to go to first to get to where you want to go. So we will follow up with questions as needed, but I know the other big question is how much does all this cost, do we think? You won't be able to read this particular slide, but the reason I'm showing it is that this is just the cover page of a lot of detail that was done by our cost estimator. And there's pages and pages of backup sort of by sort of construction discipline behind this. But we'll highlight the things that are sort of the sum totals. And we will identify what we call construction cost and then what we estimate as project cost. So construction costs are those things that the builder actually will physically put into place. And we believe for this complete renovation of the existing building and expansion to the north, that it would be, from a construction standpoint, about 12.1 million. And then we include what we call soft costs, which are things like fees, surveys, testing, all the furniture, all those things that are necessary to outfit and actually make the project happen, but are not part of what a contractor would build. So the total cost, we believe, would be just under 15.5 at about 15.41 million. A couple of clarifying assumptions. We believe that consistent with your other projects, this would be done by a construction manager. So that just affects how they do some of their calculations in the soft costs and some of the assumptions they make in the construction allowances. And they also, for lack of a specific timeline, they estimated with an assumption that this project, these dollars represent a construction, assuming they would start sometime in 2024. Not knowing like specifically when the budget and when the sort of realities might allow this project to move forward, we're estimating on that timeline. So I'm qualifying that because, if circumstances, for all the right reasons, push this farther down the calendar, we would just need to validate those costs and any escalation that might happen as the years progress. So with that, it's a lot to take in, but many of you have been along for the ride. But we would like to invite questions. Or we'll accept compliments. Which you should also, because you sort of guided us through this.
You put a lot of hard work into this, so excited to see.
Okay. Something else?
The parking lot, what's the minimum amount of parking we had to have?
Not, based on the square footage of the building, 90 spaces,
Pardon, I can't hear you.
90 spaces.
90.
90,
How many spaces are provided?
90.
Okay.
Yeah, so the lot was designed to meet our current understanding of the zoning requirements based on a 30,000 square foot building. That would necessarily be among those things that would get revalidated at such time the project would become, funded and move forward. But that meets the zoning code per Emily's investigation. Okay.
We're good?
Yeah, there's a question right here.
Oh,
How many parking spaces do we currently have?
oh, that's a really good question. We should, at the current Sheridan branch.
Judy,
I'm
do you
gonna
know?
call Lifeline.
You said Judy Dunn.
He says 38.
38,
I was gonna say 40.
40, yeah. So this would more than double, I mean,
That makes sense.
to be frank, that the current parking would not meet the current zoning code for the square footage that exists today.
Yeah, right.
So this is kind of a pure reading of the zoning code and laying out a site that accommodates that.
Definite increase.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
We're good?
I guess, are there any special considerations having to build so close to the school? Like, do we need any special permits or any? I mean, I don't think you would, but it's like kids are in school and there's big machines next door. I'm just curious if anybody could say you need to do X, Y, or Z that's extra. I don't know.
It's a good question. I think we would assume that, we do a lot of projects in a lot of different sort of neighborhoods and urban neighborhoods. That would be something that would be done in close coordination with the construction manager so that they sort of put the construction fence, in a sturdy construction fence, across from that school. I will say we understand that, there may be some planned improvements along Goodrich Court. So that whole north edge of the site presumes that and the estimate presumes that there would have to be some utility relocations and sidewalk improvements and trees. So that's not the question you asked, but in addition to making sure you have a safe and secure site, we also know that there might be more of a significant investment to make that sort of line of trees happen than you might originally assume, given
Right,
everything
this-
that's happening.
What will have to happen? Because we'll be sharing parking with the school. That's part of the deal, is that we take that property, but we share parking with them. So they have not just access to our, but a right to our parking. they use our parking in that area quite a bit already, but,
Right.
you know, it's,
That's,
uh,
that's what I was asking about the parking. We're required to have 90 parking spots for our location. How are we gonna show that with school?
this is something that Randy Chardon's manager has said that they will work this out. So they will work this out. It could be that we'll lose some frontage and they'll do nose-in parking along that side. It used to be there, nose-in parking on that side of the square. They were talking about this like this 5 years ago, pre-COVID, when we were working on this. They may do that, which would expand the number of parking spaces required. They're only gonna need to use our parking, well, their teacher probably along that far end, that way. But the heavy use for parking in our lot, it's gonna be when people are dropping their kids off or picking them up. So early in the day and late in the day, we'll have, it's already what happens really, we'll have a lot of cars in our parking lot. Later.
Despite our signs.
Despite our signs, yeah. Well, that's just practical. They can't use that crazy lot that the county owns. That's been forbidden to the other side. Anyway, a lot of the property stuff is in negotiation and Chris is doing a great job in pulling together an implementation of the plan. We were facilities and we're working on pre-COVID that kind of got scotched by COVID. So it'll work. I mean, if the city's saying it'll work, that's who counts, right? If they're happy with us, we're happy.
And Paul, at such time, it would be appropriate, there may be a variance question to accommodate the complexity of use that this site
And then
is sort of demanding.
they'll figure that out.
Yeah, you know, this happens quite often in library sites. And, you know, the good news is that the zoning officials recognize that if they are granting a variance for a library, they're not really setting a precedent for a lot of other project types. Meaning it's not like, you know, granting variances for retail or housing or other things that libraries are relatively unique. And I think this particular site is incredibly unique. So there's already conversation happening, but there would need to be that in
They
relation.
really want us to stay on the square. So they'll work with us and make it happen,
We want that too.
right? Yeah. That is highly desirable.
Teach me lunch.
You got anything?
No, I think it's a great plan and we are still having, we're having a lot of conversations about how to work on the property issue.
Which is, of course, the whole thing.
Very complicated.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
This is, this is a little more expanded version of the report, of a full report.
Yeah, really.
And
Thank you.
few extras.
Yeah, thank you.
And we will leave, there's a jump drive in the computer that has a copy of the PowerPoint, a PDF of the same PowerPoint, and also a PDF of that report. So that you can keep that for your records and share as you like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Oh, you're next.
I'm good. I need approval of January's disbursements and gifts.
Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And then I'd also like approval for, the fiscal office to pay any necessary invoices or bills currently due to checks, but also by ACH and, electronic funds transfer. So we can pay offline.
So moved.
Second.
Great.
Okay, Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And then I also received a update from NOACA. They're still evidently working on the EV charging stations at Thompson. but the original quotes they received they exceeded the estimate, and by law, you have to be within 10%, so they're working on getting a new proposal out to receive new estimates to start that project. Now they're saying they would start this summer and finish by the end of the year. So, we'll see about that. We received updated estimated resources. So we did the tax revenue estimate increased by $350,000, almost $360,000. So that was good. And they've already scheduled our budget hearing. It's Tuesday, August 22nd at 9:30. Sent Kate an invite. I don't know if anybody else is planning on being there. I can send you an invite so it shows on your calendar. So, that's good.
I always try to be there. Okay, next thing. Director's report.
I am requesting approval for tuition reimbursements as presented in your board packet.
Can I get a motion on that?
I'll second. Okay, Kristen? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Okay, and so for the first time in about 3 to 4 years, I think it's more like 4, we had a volunteer appreciation event here with the foundation and the friends. And we had over 40 people and it was very successful. The friends did a great job putting that together and they worked closely with Debbie Schrock and Rachel Hartman to make that happen. And we had great feedback about that event. And we've also started our staff-wide meetings, which are roundtables. And we've done 3 so far. We've been to Chardon, Bainbridge, and Thompson. And Nicole, Katie, Lisa, and I are attending those. And we're taking questions from the staff and addressing issues. And when that's all over, we'll post all of their question topics and the answers and everything we went over on the staff intranet. So those are going very well. And then the admin team is working diligently on getting the mini golf event up and going. And Debbie Schrock, Katie Farrell, Denise, and John are doing a great job working with the foundation to make that happen. And Danny, our new Bainbridge branch manager, has also been roped into the event. So there's a lot of people involved in making that happen. One of the other big things with facilities and IT is that our key fobs are in and they've been distributed to the Ad Center, Chardon, and Bainbridge. So there was a little bit of extra work that IT had to do on that based on what we were actually delivered, and Sam Rosales was able to make things happen there. So they're doing a great job getting everyone key fobs and security updated a little bit and more current. And that's all I have there.
Okay. All right, more later.
Yeah. Katie, you're
In addition to the assistant director's report in the board packet, I just want to mention that in the last week, the library system hosted 2 major trainings. One is Ohio's Every Child Ready to Read training. And we also just today hosted the NEO RLS Adult Summer Reading Program training. That was exciting because we had multiple staff members present their great programming ideas as well. So in general, it's a great way to contribute to the profession and to share our expertise and our meeting spaces. So we are happy to host.
You done? That's it?
That's it.
Okay, in the corner. Oh, you're
I
right.
am requesting approval of the HR actions as submitted in your questions.
Need a motion or?
We will.
So-
All right, so let's see. New hires, terminations.
The resignations of one.
Yeah, and these other points, these other bullet points, the 2022 ACA,
That doesn't, she's just reporting.
these are just.
Yeah, there's a-
I'll
All right, so
second.
we don't have to worry about that, but we have to approve the new hire and the.
First and a second.
Oh, great.
They were
Kristen, Karen,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes,
Jake.
Yes.
while I was over here worrying. Local managers, right.
Hey, everybody. So I just wanted to let you know a few of the things that are going on in IT. Like Chris said, we finished the hardware installs at all the branches for the ADT, key fob access, and staff at the Ag Center Sharp, Cambridge, are using their key fobs already. Once we get the rest of the key fobs in, we'll get the rest of the branches up and running. So that's exciting. We finished installing Little Green Button software on all the branch and staff computers. So what Little Green Button is I don't like to call it a panic button, but in a way it's a panic button. But it's a way by clicking a button on the staff computer screens, we'll send a message to all the other staff computers in that branch that staff need assistance at their location, and then staff can go and help them. So really discreet way of saying, hey, I need some help.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's really nice software. So that's up and running system wide. I've been working with Company 119, who hosts our website, to make some back-end changes to help speed things up a little bit. They did have an outage a few weeks ago, but it was not related to these changes they were making. It was an issue of their hosting. So they got that fixed relatively quick and we're back up and running. There also was a large-scale workflows and paper cut outage within the last few weeks. That went on for about 24 hours. It had to do with an issue at CleanNet with their servers. They would have had things back up a lot quicker, but just when they got things about to come back up, member libraries started trying to log into workflows, causing the whole system to crash again. Go figure. So we had a CleanNet IT meeting a couple weeks ago, and we kind of developed a plan for dealing with these large outages. Now, I will say in the 5 or so years we've been with CleanNet, this was the longest outage by far. And it's a very rarity for them to have an outage of this magnitude.
Right.
It can happen. And especially when people are slamming the server like they were, it tends to prolong things. So hopefully going forward, if this were to happen again, it won't be quite as prolonged. Chardon High School Makerspace. I've had multiple meetings with Chardon Schools Administration to find a space within Chardon High School, which we have confirmed we have a space. It's a space we wanted all along that has direct access to the outside and restroom facilities. The plan is that when school ends in June, Chardon Schools will get into the space, paint, add electrical, network, that kind of stuff. Also, most of the equipment has arrived and Chardon Schools is storing it. So when they get the space ready this summer, we can move equipment in, start training staff, library staff and school staff, and we'll be up and running by early this fall. So that's really exciting.
It's really exciting.
It's very exciting. Also, speaking of our makerspace and things like that, our digital legacy lab, we've removed the trading requirement for patrons. So patrons can now just come in, sign the patron agreement, and start using the equipment right away to digitize photos and cassettes and VHS.
Are you keeping those videos you had up so that people can look at them?
Yes, so we have the videos up. We also have all those videos on all the digital legacy lab computers.
Oh, great.
And we also have written instruction and binders of all the computers. We're still gonna offer formal training once a month for patrons that feel like they need that extra little help.
Good.
We also have at our Bainbridge branch, one of my staff, Mary Crotty, along with Bainbridge staff, do office hours in the makerspace, but they've also helped patrons with the digital legacy lab as well. So that's been good. And then the last thing I have is Henry Yoder's been working on starting to replace staff workroom computers. We started here at the Ag Center with facilities, which is done. Next we'll do is tech services. After we're done here, we'll replace all the workroom computers of the branches and have that project wrapped up by the end of summer. So we're busy,
Busy, yeah.
but I have a great staff, so everything's going really well.
Good, very good. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So committee reports, the facilities committee met. Paul, do you want to talk about it? What happened?
Would you like?
Well, they presented the same thing here.
Right, so
Yeah,
So the facilities committee met on February 8th and we went over this presentation and asked a lot of questions and that actually informed how they would do their presentation today. But in addition to that, we spoke about the Chardon School Makerspace. So I am requesting approval of the MOU with Chardon Schools on their makerspace. And this will go before the Chardon School Board next week, as far as I'm told. I don't have any control of that, but I understand it will be on their agenda next week as well.
Great, great. So do you want us to?
Well,
handle that?
we need a first and a second and then
Is
discussion.
this, did it come from the school district, the draft? Or
Well,
did we have Linda look at it, or?
Linda has looked at it. We took the draft from Mentor, we took the MOU from Mentor Schools and the Mentor Library. We worked on that with Dr. Hanlon and worked out some of the details. I did send it to Linda, and she said it was fine, so, and Lisa and I went through line by line with,
Yeah.
Dr.
When
Hanlon
we
and
met with
had
Dr.
line.
Ham, he had a lot of input into it and we changed things around.
Okay.
The framework.
Just the
from that.
details. The
Yeah.
framework is essentially the
Yeah.
same, with the details of hours and
Yeah.
staffing and things like that.
Move it.
Okay, Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Okay, and then we did discuss, operating policy 555, meeting and study rooms. Just some detail, we wanted to tighten up some details about using the meeting and study rooms, about people not being able to present, for profit or to generate sales or leads or solicitation lists. We had some clarification about food and, groups cleaning up the room and setting them up. So they were very small changes, but we thought that those were needed to just clarify and ensure consistency across the system with how meeting rooms and study rooms are being used.
And we need.
We need a vote on that.
So we need a vote on.
So moved. I'll second. Motion.
Lovely.
Okay, Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Okay. And we have the memorandum of understanding with the library and the Herb Society, and they are here to present. But we do have the MOU in here. If you'd like to vote on that first.
Let's do that. Give me,
Yeah.
let me get that done.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
So moved.
Okay, Kristen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Okay. And now we're gonna have a presentation from Kathy.
Okay, well, this would be our annual report. Just to let you know, in 2021, the West Garden, this is at the Bainbridge Library. This is the rebuilding of our garden. In 2021, the West Garden was completed, paid for with $15,000 from the library and the sprinkler system put in. And then we added funds from our group for the garden drainage, additional soil, and several coats of stain on the boxes and gravel paths. And then we were ready to move on to 2022. Time moves very quickly. By last June, the West Garden was planted with 4 gardens: culinary, the blue and silver, potpourri, and the literary garden. July saw the installation of 4 L-shaped garden boxes, which house 8 gardens. That's the medicinal lure, butterfly, 2 touch and sniff fragrance beds, and 4 perennial beds for all-season color. Brick entry pads were installed along with the pop-up sprinkler heads. The beds were promptly planted. The tall grasses and milkweed and other butterfly herbs that were part of our original garden that were still there are an addition to the butterfly garden. So that kind of is behind the garden. Tea house plans were passed by the library board. Building took place at the Pinecraft facility in Middlefield, and installation took place last month, 2023. And today we'll assign that memorandum, we did sign, last year we signed the memorandum of understanding, and the Earth Society researched our standing with the IRS. We had our EIN was in good standing, but their rules had changed over the years, and we got a letter of non-compliance. So after meeting with several tax attorneys and calls to the IRS, it was determined that we were not eligible to be a 501c3, but we are a 501c7 organization. Our paperwork was submitted in July, and we received reinstatement confirmation as a 501c7 in January.
What's the difference between C3 and C7?
Well, we are exempt from income tax, but we are not a tax exempt. People who donate money to us can't claim on their tax. It's, you know, one of those things where it's, garden clubs tend to be in that category. So that's where we are. No, Al, am I saying that right? Because he's the one who did a lot of this tax stuff. This
They
is
have to
not my,
limit their income to under 50,000 a year. You know, as Kathy said, the C3 category is primarily, from what we learned, for nonprofit groups like churches. And so they, under the tax code, they've got very specific about categorizing different organizations. And they're, one of the specific areas is a garden club, C7.
and they don't make it easy to figure out what's what. I mean, we really went through several tax attorneys and to the point where they said, this is way more complicated than, so, we are where we are. Our programs for 2022, we had programs on trees and culinary and different herb programs. We had workshops and we had work days in our garden and our plant sale. Off-site, we had some garden tours. Okay, so then we're ahead to 2023. What's ahead this year? Well, today signing the MOU, and in the garden, we want to install the sandstone floor in the tea house and 4-foot wide path that goes to the sidewalk. That we will still come to you when we are ready with what we want to do and what we can afford to do. Okay, so that hopefully will be submitted soon. Our plan is to use our original benches in the tea house until we have funds for updating the benches. We are fundraising and applying for grants toward installing brick that's flush with the ground around each box to protect them from wear and damage from mowers and weed eaters. Also, we're working on funding for more benches through the garden, trellises, 2 trellises in the east garden and 2 trellises in the west garden, which will add height to the garden and give it an inclusive feel. Also, some well-placed fence sections, as we had in our old garden, that the fence, little bits of fencing tend to stop the eye and keep everything feeling inclusive. And also the storybook trail. Storybook stands have already been purchased by the library, and once installed will be overseen by the children's library staff. These items have not yet gone through our design process as far as exactly where they'll go and how they'll fit with the garden. But we are after very careful quality over time, and we'll get approvals from the board as we're ready to act on each step. I'm meeting today with Danny. She has some plans for that storybook garden, so we will be moving ahead with that. Our programs this year, our programs and meetings are open to anybody, but we do like people to sign up on our website if they want to, so we make sure we have room for them, and just we can accommodate anybody who signs up. This year we have work days and workshops and program houseplants, and we have 4 different pollinator, bird and bee kind of programs this year. This is the first time we're really delving into this, but with gardens and herbs and just gardening in general, you never know everything, and go in a lot of different directions, and that's what makes it interesting, is you never know everything. The program on bulbs, and we'll have a tea in November, which we have every couple of years, we have a formal tea, which is kind of fun. We are not part of the library, but we work in tandem with the library for the benefit of both. We're available to give programs on herbs and tours of our garden. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have no unfinished business, but we do have a new business. First, we'll start with the approval of the February discard list.
I move the list.
Second.
Okay, Kristen?
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And we need the approval to close the library branches on July 3rd this year. This year, July 3rd falls on a Monday. And I guess there was general consensus among the librarians that it would be really nice to have the day before off, and we all thought, yeah, that'd be nice. So we need approval for this.
Move.
I'll second. Great. Hey, Kristen? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Paul? Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And then we need approval to move the March board meeting back to March 28th. Because Chris has some personal.
How come we're going to the administration center again?
Sharon, not available. It's already booked that day. The Bostwick room's booked. So we'll see if we can find another time to get it back into Sharon. So they're booked up.
Yeah, almost every day.
And Judy can't wait to find out if we're moving it so she can give it to someone else on the 21st.
I move, do we have a motion yet?
No,
I move to move the board meeting to March 28th at 4. Yeah, sir.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And the next item is board development. We need approval to recommend the reappointment of Jake Anchart to the board.
Moved.
Second.
Yes.
Hey, Kristen? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Jake?
Sure.
Thank you for being willing.
Thank you.
Foundation.
Oh, no, I have a couple more things under board development.
Board development.
Nothing else that requires a vote.
All right.
Just, we've been working on our 2022 year in review, and Denise, marketing, was able to get this done today. So this is a snapshot of all of our numbers for 2022, and I just wanted to share it with the board because I think it's a great, something to have if you need any talking points about what we do. These are all of our numbers for 2022. And if you see under circulation, we actually circulated, when you add up all those numbers, 2.7 million items in total. And we had just some great numbers. So this is just a great thing for everyone to have as a snapshot of what we were able to do in 2022. I also just wanted to let everyone know that Library and Legislative Day is Wednesday, April 26th. And that's when all the librarians go to Columbus to make our case. And the governor has so far proposed in the budget for 2024, 2025, that 1.7% would be put into permanent law for the PLF. Obviously, lots of things can change as we approach the finish line, but that is a proposal put forward by the governor. And I will be in Columbus on April 26th for Ohio Library and Legislative Day.
We posting these places.
What are you doing?
Well, actually, we have a whole booklet for the year in review with a lot more detail, but that's the snapshot. It's going to, all of our legislators, and we're just putting it in the libraries, and we're sharing it with as many people as possible so everyone can see. But it does look great,
You guys
doesn't
are
it?
the experts. Yeah, but I mean, I think we should social media posts, whatever. I mean, this is really cool. It's great stuff and it's really well presented.
Hot off the presses. Yeah, it's hot
I
off the
figured as
presses,
much, just making sure, because it's.
like 2 hours ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just finished, yeah.
I wasn't saying where is it, I was just saying going forward, I think it's great stuff, we should definitely be
Yes.
pushing it
spread
everywhere
it
we can
around.
for people to see.
Yeah, it does. They did a great job on that.
Thank you.
Yes. And, that's it for board.
All right, that's it for board health. So now foundation next.
Yes, so the foundation has changed their meetings. They are actually meeting tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. So, I will have a full report for you next time from 2 meetings. But they are just deep into mini golf, getting everything going for mini golf. And as you know, there are those 2 events. On the 18th is the adult event, and on the 19th is the family event. So we're really looking forward to how that goes. And as I said before, they have had a lot of staff support in getting this done. Debbie, Denise, Rachel, Katie, Danny, everyone's really working together to make sure that this happens and is a successful event.
Lovely. And then we done the comments from the public. Anybody have any? No? And we're down to, I need a motion to adjourn. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that. Actually, I know, we do, yeah. Yeah.